Guys and girls, welcome back to the channel. Today is a good one for me. I'm back into Moto, that's a given, but today I get to pick up my next long-term bike. So I've got a bike for a couple of weeks, so let me show you that, and I'm going to give you a very good bit of consumer advice in relation to Royal Enfield, which just happens to be the bike that I'm getting today. But stay tuned, because this information could save you lots of money. This beauty right here is my next long-term bike. So I'm going to have this bike for a couple of weeks. So I'm going to put it through its paces. This is, of course, Royal Enfield's Continental. It's the 650 and it's absolutely bloody gorgeous. Now, the good thing with this bike at the minute, if you did want to buy one of these, £4,699. When you see that the actual price of these bikes should be £6,799, so over £2,000 off these bikes. And there is a reason for that, and I'm going to go into it in today's video, because MotoGB, as you know, used to import Royal Enfields bikes, just like the bikes I've got behind me. So you've got another Continental there, we've got the classics at the end, we've got the Royal Enfield Himalayan 411, we've got all of these bikes that MotoGB used to import, but they don't anymore. However, when they were importing them, they imported quite a lot. Now what that meant was that when they stopped importing them, they had a surplus, they had a lot of bikes in a warehouse that were available to be bought. But because they stopped being the importer, they decided to sell them at reduced prices. So you could buy a brand new bike for less money. Now I think they've got to a point now where the bikes are starting to run out. But to aid the process, MotoGB have decided to just literally put them at the bottom price. Their price is like down here. So just like the bike that I'm going to be taking for a couple of weeks, where they've knocked £2,000 off, or over £2,000, they're doing the same with all of the bikes that they've got left. And there isn't many. So you've got to be quick to get this big saving, and it's why I'm doing this video now as a bit of a rush job, and I'm kind of ad-libbing, so to speak, but it's just purely because if my subscribers can save money, that's why I'm doing it. What specs MotoGB have still got left, and what colours they've got left, and the price they should be, and the price that they're now selling them for. Not many of these bikes left. And I have got no doubt in my mind that once MotoGB's stock has gone, Royal Enfield will then put the prices right back up to where they should be. So if you are thinking about getting one of these bikes, get them while they're cheap. It's just a no-brainer for me. Anyway, let's have a look at what we've got here. I'll give you the prices, I'll give you rough numbers, because some of these bikes were down to the last 1 and 2, I believe. In fact, we'll start with those. So I'm going to start with the Himalayan. Now it's the 411, so it is the previous generation. Now this bike, believe it or not, is one of 2 that MotoGB have got left. There is this blue one, and then the other one, it's that brown colour. But these bikes themselves should be £5,049. Now, because of the big reductions MotoGB have now put on, these last 2 are going to be sold at £3,899. So that is a whopper of a saving. And don't forget, these bikes aren't being made anymore, they're not being brought in anymore. These are quite literally the last 2 brand new bikes for sale at a dealership in the country. So yes, if you want one of those, you have to be very quick. These bikes are in very high demand and very short supply, so should you want a brand new Himalayan with a whopper of a saving, £3,899, there are 2 left. Full title, let's give it. It's the Royal Enfield GT Continental 650, and I really do like these bikes. Proper classic looking and gives you a bit of a sports bike experience with a classic body. Now these, the savings on them are immense. Now I know there's not many of these left, but there are a couple. So it's not quite in the sad state of the 411 where there's only 2. There are more of these left. However, there isn't lots of them available. Once they're gone, they're gone. MotoGB have only got so many left, and yeah, when they've gone, that's it. They're done with Royal Enfield. I'm sure these bikes will be back up very close to the £6,000 mark. The honeymoon period of getting these bikes cheap will be, well, it will be but a memory. The classic 350. Now the classic 350 for me is, it's kind of the bike that started a bit of a revolution, I think, because once Royal Enfield started doing so well with the classic 350 and the Meteor 350 and the Hunter 350, other brands started to bring out the smaller capacity bikes, because prior to that they didn't really do it. In the UK we were getting 125s and then it seemed to jump up to 600s, but brands now, pretty much all of them, bring out 300s and 400s now, and they're bringing them out because of how well these bikes did. These bikes are currently being sold for £3,799. Now the official price, the brand new price, should be £4,539, so they are cheaper than what they should be. There's a nice saving there. However, there isn't many left. There are only 2 colours, in fact. You've got this black and red, so it's black with a couple of red accents, and then you've got the red stripe going down the tank, which I think looks really smart. Let me know if you agree or disagree, but I do really like it. I really like these bikes. Yeah, so you've got this colour, and then you've got the other colour, which is the grey colour, which has, I think, a really nice tan coloured, well, like a dark tan, brownish seat. I like this colour. It's probably one of my favourites. I actually prefer this over the black. The black's nice. I just think this is smart. The other one's nice. I just prefer. We've got our own preferences, haven't we? Yeah. The classic 350 is a lovely bike, and I can see why so many people buy them, so many people love them. To get a saving like this on a bike that's already quite cheap to start with, it's brilliant, isn't it? Now, I know there's not many of these left. There's only 2 colour options, and when these initially come out, there was loads of different colours. MotoGB are left with 2 different colours. Again, once they're gone, they're gone. And when they're gone, you're going to be paying full price. Now, what I think is the smart move, and I think I would expect this to happen, is normally when you buy a bike, they lose money. Now, if you were to go out and buy, let's say let's use the GT Continental as an example. If you were to buy that bike now and you buy it off a MotoGB site like Moto, then what happens is you're saving over £2,000 straight away. So once those bikes have gone and Royal Enfield put the prices up to £6,000, which they probably will, because that will fit in line with all of the other 650s that they've got, then is your bike going to lose much money? In fact, it might even go up in value. Now, don't quote me on it, it's just what I'm predicting, but I can't see it going any other way. If the bike pretty much overnight goes up by a couple of £1,000 and you've bought it at the lower price, you've saved a packet. Maybe even made a bit. Now, another bike in short supply is the Interceptor 650. Now that for me is one of my favourite Royal Enfields. It is, I absolutely love it, but that's another bike that's got huge savings. Interceptor 650 is being sold at prices starting at £4,899. Now the full price of those bikes is £6,599. So again, there is a massive saving. It's around the £2,000 mark, slightly less, but you know what I mean. It's a big saving. There isn't any Interceptors here because all of the bikes that Moto had in the store have sold. There are a couple left in the warehouse. There's 2 different colours. I really like the Barcelona blue. The colour available is called Downtown Drag, and kind of a 2-colour grey and black, but I think that looks really smart as well. But again, massive savings that won't be around once all the bikes are sold, and there isn't many left, and I cannot stress this enough. I really can't. The bikes themselves, I mean, I've been a massive fan of Royal Enfield. It was one of the reasons I actually came into Moto in the first place, going back a couple of years, because Moto, being a MotoGB dealer, they used to sell Royal Enfields brand new on the regular, and they were one of the biggest sellers of Royal Enfield in the country. Now they're selling the Royal Enfields, but they're just the stock that MotoGB have got left. So they are brand new bikes. The majority of these will be pre-registered as well, because that obviously helps get the price down. So they've already got registration plates. They won't have any miles, or if they have, it'll just be the PDI miles, so maybe 1 or 2 miles, but they are essentially brand new bikes. Moto are selling these bikes, so if you are interested, I'll put a link in the description, or pop down to Moto, have a word with the guys, because honestly, I keep saying it, but once these have all gone, that's it, we're gone. There's no more left in the MotoGB group, and then you'll be paying full price. I always point this out. I don't work for Moto, I don't work for MotoGB. I just love an absolute bargain. I love a savings, and I like when I come across one as massive as this, because this is at the minute an absolute whopper of a saving. So yeah, if you're interested, link in the description. Now, just while I've got you, and before you switch off, I've already said this bike here, the Royal Enfield GT Continental 650, is going to be with me for a couple of weeks. So I'm going to put it through its paces. I'm going to do what I do with my long-termers. I'm going to treat them as my own. I'll go to work on it, I'll go on rides out on it, I'll test it as it's meant to be tested. So if that's something that interests you, make sure you hit the subscribe on my YouTube channel, and then you can see how we get on with this. But in the past, when I've had rides on these, it's been for maybe an hour or 2, and I have loved it, but I've not lived with one long term, so let's see what it's like long term. So make sure you come back for that. But for now, that's going to do me. Get on those savings. I'll catch you on the next one.